Hey guys, Magnus Robber here. Today we're going to be ranking Telltale characters from Season 3 of The Walking Dead. Of course, this is being Walking Dead A New Frontier. Now, we've done Season 1 and Season 2, and I've basically been going in like block by block by block. Mainly because I don't want to. I've been replaying the games on live streams. Some of you have tuned in, and thank you for those who tuned in. But basically, I wanted it to be like an informed decision. I didn't want it to be just based on memory, so I wanted to have like a more recent playthrough just to kind of refresh myself on the stories and the characters, etc., etc. So that's why I've been doing it block by block. But so today we're going to be talking about Season 3 characters, but I am considering everything that comes before it. So if when we talk about Clementine, for example, I am thinking about everything that's come before for her as well, so the totality of her character. But she's the only character on this list that follows from a previous game, because obviously Season 3 was pretty minimal with what it took from Season 2. Of course, there was the Clementine flashbacks with Jane and Kenny, but I mean, they're pretty minimal, so there's not really much to talk about there anyway, so I think it's fine that both Kenny and Jane are not on this list. So yeah, let's get into it and rank the characters from S to D. Now I will just say, Season 3 of The Walking Dead is, from a writing standpoint, pretty terrible. From a playthrough standpoint, pretty fucking amazing. It's a weird season where I actually kind of love it at times, but then the writing is like nonsensical at times. If you really want to see some funny reactions, watch my streams. I was baffled by some of the story beats, like, you know, obviously I played them before, but like revisiting them years later, there's some things that are kind of crazy. But the gameplay slaps, alright? It's a game that slaps, but I think Season 3 is probably the worst so far. I don't know if 2's worse though, because 2's kind of boring, whereas 3's kind of like, the writing's probably kind of bad, but like the gameplay's so good. Where I think there's 2, the writing's kind of bad near the second half of Season 2. I don't know. I think I enjoy Season 3 more, is what I'm saying. But maybe I think Season 2 is probably written better. Who knows, though. Anyway, let's get into ranking these characters. So let's first start with Francine, I guess. So where did I put Francine? Honestly, probably like a B. She's fine. She's just a lady we meet in episode 1. She seems pretty nice, pretty chill. She's gambling. She's with Conrad. And then in episode 2, we find she's been kidnapped by Badger and Max, and then she's like executed. And there's no way to save her. She dies regardless. So, I mean, she's there really, I guess, to facilitate the stuff that comes later with Conrad, and that's pretty much it. So there's not really much to say about Francine. I think she's probably fine. So I think a B is acceptable. This guy is Hector, I think. This is Javier's uncle. I mean, honestly, he's just fine. He's kind of there. It's a nice reveal where you see he's bitten. Obviously, the mum gets bitten. Like, the dad's dead, and he turns, and then the mum's bitten, and then you see the uncle's bitten too. So it is like, I like that sort of that how the game starts and the escalation. It is pretty cool. You've got Max. Now, I think Max is probably fine for what he is. I do like he's a bit layered. That, you know, obviously he's doing this stuff because Jones told him, but he kind of crumbles pretty quickly and, you know, tells the truth, obviously, if you go down that line. So, I don't know. I think he's fine as a villain character. He is a bit cliche. He is just the guy from Home Alone, let's be honest. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think for what he is, he's fine. Maybe that is a B, but I'm going to put him in A, just because I like how he talks. Joan is a pretty mediocre villain. I don't think she's as bad as Carver, because there's something there. They just don't, like, fulfill it. The problem is, like, with Joan is, like, I kind of like the idea is, like, well, the New Frontier wasn't going to survive by just doing what it's doing, so we decided to raid some communities, and those raids may go against the sort of structure of the community. And the fact then that, you know, once it's discovered, she just pins all the blame on David. I mean, that works. I think that's a good story. I think that I like that, right? And she's just behind the scenes kind of been manipulating all these, like, soldiers, obviously, like Max and Badger, these people who are meant to be under David. She's just secretly kind of got all their allegiances to her, and yeah, I mean, I think that's it's like a fine little story beat. Yeah, I mean, I think potentially there was a good character there. It's just how it escalates. She's just like, now she's like, I'm gonna murder David in front of everyone. Well, I guess that made sense. And then yeah, she shows the bodies. No, I like that too. I guess it's how she ends, right? Yeah. So the fact that you can just shoot her in the middle of her big speech, and if you don't shoot her, she just gets away. That's kind of ass. That is kind of ass. But I think she's there. She's like a decent villain in the making. It's just not quite fully baked, if that makes sense. Now we've got Ava. I think Ava in the flashbacks, you kind of get the sense that she's not all bad. She helps Clementine out, obviously, when we first meet her, and then Clementine joins the New Frontier. When Clementine's kicked out of the New Frontier, she does come and visit Clementine and give her some supplies. You know, she does feel for her. She's got like some character there, and she's like pretty chill with David and stuff. I mean, ultimately though, there's just nothing there with her. She's underdeveloped. And then she can get shot, executed obviously alongside Trip, and depending who you pick, the other one gets killed. And then if Ava does survive, she just dies in the most ridiculous, stupid way imaginable. And then all the characters are like, well, she's dead, let's move on. It's so stupid. That is some funny shit. So honestly, I just don't care that much about Ava. I don't think she's bad, but I think she's probably a B. Yeah. I don't know what... I feel like these are... Because all these characters are just fine, I think. Joan, I think, could have done better, so maybe I'll put Joan at a C. Ava, I think, probably was underbaked, but I don't think she's that important. I think Joan's way more important because she is your, like, central villain. So I think I will put her down in C. And then Javier is an S tier character. I think he's great from start to finish. I like the dynamic with him and David, although I do think it has problems. I think for the most part it's a cool dynamic, and the stuff with Kate as well, and the fact that you can pursue this relationship with Kate, or you don't have to if you don't want to. Yeah, I think all that's good. Yeah, and Javi's just a cool fucking character. He slaps. I think he's a great POV character, and I do wish maybe in the future Telltale make a second game with him. Now, granted, it's going to be difficult to do because obviously all of his family members have determined statuses, but it would be cool regardless. I mean, there'd be a way around that. You just have it either be... I mean, I feel like Gabe, you just have to kill off. Like, Gabe has to die. Okay, I'm sorry. Not Gabe, sorry, David. David just kill off. And then the second game, this is my fear. Okay, this is how they make it work. In the second game, your companion is either Gabe or Kate, right? And if David survived, I guess David has to die, sorry. So it's either Gabe or Kate, and you just... I think isn't there a way where both of them can survive? I forget. But whatever it may be, just have one of them be like your companion or something. I don't know. Maybe there is a way. They'd have to make 2 different games though, so maybe it'd be hard. I don't know. Whatever. I'm sprouting some shit here. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I put Javier in S tier. I think he's pretty good. And from the totality of like all these characters in this game, he is the best. He's even better than Clementine, I feel. And then we got this Clint guy. He's like some dude. I think he's in charge of like food production or something. He's like obviously a high position in the New Frontier. And he just disappears as well, which is really weird. If you kill Joan, that is. If you don't kill Joan, then he eventually dies, obviously. But it's just really odd. He's almost like a Gavin from the TV show, where he sort of goes along with it in the end, but he clearly knows it's wrong in his heart and it's against his principles, but he doesn't have the balls to like step up. And I don't know. For me, I feel like it's just like a fine character, but again, they didn't do much with it. I think probably I put it in B again too. Rufus, this is just kind of random. It's just a guy that you can kill in episode 1, and if you don't kill him in episode 1, he shows up again, and then I think he gets bitten in episode 5, and then he gets executed by David. So whatever. Who cares? C. Not even a great thing to keep alive. Maybe I put Clint in C as well. Yeah, because I just felt like Clint's really odd. Eleanor, I think she's like okay, but her betrayal is kind of undercooked, and at least in my playthrough, I did like she just disappeared after that playthrough. I guess she was still living in Richmond in the New Frontier, but whatever. Kind of a sucky betrayal, and it makes no sense either. Like it just feels completely out of character. It's like a way to pull the rugs under us. Maybe for that I'll put her in B. Dr. Lingard, this guy is just Dr. Guy who wants to kill himself at the most random, convenient time, I guess. Again, just underdeveloped. All these characters just feel underdeveloped. A lot of them do. And this is what's really difficult ranking them. I feel like I'm just going to put him there. Again, just very underdeveloped character. Mama, obviously, Javier's mom. I guess, again, she's like with Hector, she just serves her purpose. She's a minor character. Should I maybe change this up a bit? For like underdeveloped characters, should I put them here? For characters that are just like fine, maybe I'll just put them in A. That's my solution, yeah. I think these are the underdeveloped ones. These characters are just fine as they are. And these are actually like good characters. Yeah, so maybe we'll just make a note. So we'll say underdevved, right? So underdev, these are just fine. And these are kind of bad, like they needed to be better, and these are just bad. And so for that, I think Rufus probably should just be an underdeveloped. Okay, he wasn't really underdeveloped. I just think it's like a really weird decision to have a random guy you could shoot, and then he could just show up later. And I understand that's like to add like the element of choice to it, like the fact that your choices do have consequences and all that. But the Rufus one just felt like there was no good payoff there, really. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the Conrad one, I think there is. So for Conrad, I'm going to put an S. Because I generally think it's fucking awesome that Conrad has, like, multiple deaths. So obviously you can shoot him in episode 2, which most people did because they, didn't like the fact he was threatening Gabe. And also threatened Clementine. So most people shoot him in episode 2, and then in episode 3 he can get like devoured by walkers if you don't give him the gun, and then in episode 4 he can get ran over by Kate. So he has 3 separate deaths, which is kind of cool. And then he obviously just survives into episode 5. He doesn't do anything to help you in episode 5. He's just there at the end reading a book. But whatever. I do think it's kind of cool what they do with Conrad. I think Conrad's character is a little. He's sort of erratic at the start, and then he just chills the fuck out, and he's just like a really cool guy at the end. I mean, it's nothing like groundbreaking, but from what they've got in season 3, honestly, he probably is one of the better characters. You got Lonnie. This guy is just fine. I don't really care. He's just I think Lonnie. I guess he just goes in the fine. The Eli guy. God. I don't know. Eli. Again, I guess just fine. He's just a guy that Clementine kills. Obviously, the gun thing. He's obviously a bit of a sleazeball. And, Clementine shoots him in the face. I mean, again, I don't really know what else you can do with this character. And I think that plot point was probably okay. But, again, what do you do? Mariana. I think Mariana is fine as well. I mean, her death is very fucking shocking, and I think, actually, in a sense, I might put it as S tier. I think she's she's like a really sweet character, really innocent character. So that sort of gut wrenching end of episode 1, where she's shot in the head, is fucking brutal. I really love episode 1 for that, and I think it's a brave fucking decision to kill off like a young kid, and like obviously the main character's like one of the main characters like motivations, and I think that causes issues down the line, and I really wish there was more, like her death was used more like later on, because it does feel like it kind of gets dropped a little bit near the end. But do you know what? Overall, I like it. So I put her in S tier as a character, and the sort of the thing that came from her death as well. Javier's father is fucking S tier. Is it called Salvador? I really love the fucking flashback with him. It's brilliant, and I think it encapsulates the relationship between David and Javier. And I think if that relationship between David and Javier was served a little bit better in episode 5, because I do think it's a little rushed, and it feels like there is no way you can get around it. Whatever choice you've made, they end up having this big fight and this big falling out. And I think that was definitely where it should have led to. It's just how we got there, I think, was done a little poorly. But I think his character is pretty good for what it is. Kate, I'm going to be controversial. I'm just put her in fine. I think she's cool. She's like funky, and I think she's like reasonable. But it's just the turn she has in episode 5, where she's like, "We have to save all these people, all these nice people in Richmond. We've got to help them out. We've got to, because I did this and all this." Like, these people were gonna execute you, like execute David. They were gonna kill. They would have killed your like Javier as well. They were gonna execute your husband. They literally shot your stepdaughter in the head. Fuck these people. They deserve they deserve it. So she just has this sudden shift in, not really shift in characters, shift in motivations, but it just felt like kind of poor for like episode 5. And I also just don't like how they end Kate. If you obviously go to save Gabe along with Clem, I think if you go to save Gabe on your own, when you return, Kate's just gone. She just disappears. She's not a zombie or anything. Obviously, there's the other version where she's a zombie. To me, it's kind of ass how they end her character. I feel she doesn't really get. I mean, I guess if she survives, that's an okay ending. But then that's at the behest of Gabriel dying, and that just feels a little fucked that they've like lost both the kids. So I don't know. I don't think there's any good ending to Kate's character really. So maybe the one where she's a zombie and Gabe's alive, but that's probably about it. And yeah, I just think she's a bit more flawed than these 4, so that's why I'm putting her in the sort of A fine tier. Listen, the characters in season 3 are pretty ass. A Trip, I think is fine. like honestly, he looks cool, and I like his voice, and he's a pretty chill guy. But that's about it. Let's be honest, he's not that complex of a character. He abandons all of his people in what's it called? The fucking Prescott. Like, he takes Conrad and Eleanor and Clementine, who he fucking exiled like 10 minutes ago, and then he just leaves the community whilst like you watch all these like NPCs who are a part of Prescott being like devoured by walkers and shot by people. It's just kind of funny that he just he's like, cares so much about Prescott but abandons like all the people to die. Like, he doesn't stand there and fight. And yes, you can argue, well, shit, he probably wouldn't have survived if he didn't flee. Does Trip seem like the kind of guy to just run? No, this motherfucker would go, like, I feel like he'd go down with a fight, keeping this community that he loves and trying to keep it safe. So that's like, I feel like he is flawed, and so that's why I can't put him in S. But I think he's like top of A. I do like him. And like all the stuff with him and Eleanor, I just don't care. It's just underbaked. Who gives a fuck that Eleanor doesn't love him? So, yeah, I feel like, for me, Trip is just a fine. Then we got Gabe. I'm going to be honest. Okay. He's bad. I was a big Gabriel defender back in the day. I used to say, yeah, he's annoying, but he's a kid. And I think most of the time he is. It's episode 4 and episode 5 where he just becomes inconsistent. And it's not the fact that he's an annoying kid, it's the way he's written. Okay, so don't mistake me for just hating children. It actually comes down to the writing for this character. He just flip-flops constantly, and that's the biggest issue. He's like defending Javi from, like, he's telling Javi that I want to be like you, I don't want to be like my dad, and then he leaves with David regardless. And then you have him like getting mad at Javi for certain things, but then he also defends Javi. It's like all over the place. He's like I think someone in stream said that for both Gabe and David, they're almost like bipolar. Like they go from one view to another view to another, back to that other view, and then back to that other opinion, and then to the original opinion, and then a new opinion, and then all over the place. The writing is really bad, and David is the same. David is the same too, and this is what pains me. Javier's pretty consistent. I feel like Kate's pretty consistent, but David and Gabe are just, the writing's so fucked for them. It's so all over the place, to the point where you can be as nice as possible to David and he still betrays you no matter what. And it does feel very forced in a very like Telltale fashion, and that's what irks me about it. So I've got to put it in kind of bad. I'm so sorry. It's just how it is, okay? So I do like David. I don't think he's underdeveloped. I think it's how he ends. Maybe it would be better, because I don't feel like putting him fine works. Underdeveloped, maybe I'll just put him there. Maybe I'll just go for that. Underdeveloped. Although it is pretty funny what he does to to Fern. Now, poor Fern, she has an awful name, she has an awful husband, and her daughter's dead. So her day is just going terribly when we first meet Fern in season. I think it's in episode 5, right? We meet her. Maybe she appears in the background earlier. Who knows? Fern, I think, is a very. I guess she's just fine how she is. Badger, I think he's just fine. He's like just a general sort of evil dude. Not really much more to say about him. Jesus, I think his inclusion is nice. I think it does cause issues with like consistency with the comic, or at least people said that. I haven't really looked into that, but to be honest, I think Jesus' inclusion is great. It's nice to have like a character from the comic books come in, and I think Jesus does make sense because he is a guy who goes out like searching for new people to bring to the hilltop, and so it makes sense for that why he's out scouting. You play see like scavengers and stuff, and he's fucking badass as well. And he's super hot. Okay, so like, listen, Jesus has to go in the S tier. We all love him. I like his inclusion, and he comes back as well in the final episode too, which is pretty cool. And then finally we have Clementine. So this is my most controversial take. Are you ready? Clementine in this season is kind of bad. Now, I think if we're just talking this season alone and in a sort of vacuum, my biggest problem is the flashbacks feel like massively underdeveloped. It feels like we have to rush the decision that you made at the end of episode 2. So if you went with Kenny, Kenny's dead. If you went with Jane, Jane's dead. And if you went on your own, Clementine loses a finger. It's just feels a bit random. And the flashbacks to like her getting like how she like lost AJ, I think they're very tragic, and I think that works, like removing AJ from her in this season. But I just don't know if Clementine needed to be here maybe. I'm not sure. But then I do kind of like it as well as it's like a stepping standpoint, because I think her not being the protagonist for a bit does work in its own way too. So I'm sort of a little bit mixed on it, I guess. Overall, I'm very mixed on her character in this season. But my biggest problem is it just feels like she's grown up a little bit too fast. Is that fair to say? She feels a bit too old. Like, I think in season 4, that's fine. But, like, there's a clear shift from, like, season 1 to season 2 in Clementine, I feel. And then from season 2 to season 3, it's fucking wild. It's rapid. You're like, oh, shit, okay, wow. She's really grown up now. And then she doesn't feel that different to, like, season 4. I don't know how to put my finger on it. And she just doesn't do anything that interesting, I feel, in this season either. Like, she does feel like she's just tagging along half the time, because a lot of this relationship stuff obviously is the important stuff, and I like that. I like the stuff with Javi, David, and Kate, that sort of dynamic there, and the stuff with Gabe and stuff. And it does feel like Clem is just thrown in the mix, like she has to be there. And maybe it would have been better that she wasn't. But then I also like the fact that she's included. Like I said, I'm just very conflicted on this whole thing. It's all I can say. But where would I ultimately put Clementine? Probably just the underdeveloped. If we're talking like the totality of from season 1 to season 3, at this point, probably fine. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe. I think overall she was kind of bad in the season. But I think in like totality, including from season 1 to season 3, I think Clementine at this point is probably fine. Leaning to S tier, obviously, because we all love Clem. And maybe what happens in season 3 doesn't hurt her character in seasons 1 and 2. I think that's probably fair to say. I don't think it hampers her character too much. Her, like, sort of little inclusion. So maybe, yeah. I've just been rambling. I've just been spurging, okay? Ultimately, Clementine is S, okay? But I think this season she's kind of bad. But I mean, overall, she's an S tier character, okay? Because we're including everything from season 1 to 3. So there you go. That's my ranking. Sorry that I was a little rambly there, but it is how it is. That's how I rank all the characters. Sorry I haven't got all the random like background characters in this tier, but honestly, like they would all go in the fine if they were like background characters. Might seem like a bit of a weird tier, but that's kind of how I view them as. Did they serve their purpose? And Javier, I think, did. Conrad, I think, did. Mariana did. Salvador did. Jesus did. And Clementine, she's here for a different reason. But these characters, are just fine, you know? I think they're fine as they are. They could have been better, but that's it, really. We could have had more. These guys are really underdeveloped, and they had massive potential. These guys are kind of bad, but also underdeveloped. And this is just bad. I mean, Rufus is just fine, I guess. I don't really know if I care that much. It does feel like kind of random, but it's not that offensive. Anyway, that's my final list. We'll go with that. I'm closing it here. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.